Your Black World, and a lot of you have been following the story of Sandra Bland, the 28-year-old woman out of Chicago, Naperville, a suburb of Chicago, who went down to Texas and was pulled over and ended up dead in her jail cell 3 days later. The video's been released. A lot of really interesting things have been revealed to the public about the initial confrontation she had with the officer that led to her being arrested. A lot of people are wondering what happened after that, whether she really killed herself or if she was pressured into killing herself, or you know, what all kinds of different directions. I mean, there are people that are even passing around the mugshot and wondering if she's actually dead in the mugshot, things like that. I don't try to get into speculation like that. Especially when it comes to things that I don't know for sure. My position on a lot of conspiracies is that sometimes conspiracy theories don't have much merit, but a lot of the reason that conspiracy theories originate in the black community is because so many conspiracies have been played against us. There are real conspiracies. I mean, they've really happened. For example, I don't find it unfathomable that hip hop was deliberately turned into violent music to get young people to kill each other and for black people to become disoriented and to engage in criminal behavior. That is a conspiracy that I do believe in, actually, to a point. Not entirely, but I do believe that people have used media on many occasions to control black people. Now, in the case of Sandra Bland, I don't know. This is one town, one small Texas town. I do know a few things for sure that lead me to definite conclusions. Number one, she should never have been pulled over for not hitting her turn signal. I mean, a lot of us do this every day, and the fact that we live in a country where a person can end up in jail for something like that should concern us. The United States incarcerates more of its citizens than any country in the world. We incarcerate so many people in jail, law-abiding, good, nonviolent people, that actually the United States is now the only country in the world where there are more men that are raped than women, because not only are people incarcerated, but once they get there, they're put through a kind of torture, a kind of hell that is just unfathomable. And people don't pay attention to that because they say, "Oh well, Sandra, oh, she's just a criminal. So if she wasn't a criminal, she wouldn't be wearing the orange suit. So whatever happens to her is fine. It should happen. She deserves it because if she didn't want to be in jail, she shouldn't have broke the law in the first place." And I say that about Sandra to really strike a chord because there's a lot of sensitivity about Sandra's plight because people saw it on video. People know Sandra. They know about her. They know her story. But here's the thing. There are tens of thousands of people who just like her that are in jail right now. There are thousands of people just like her who've been killed while in police custody, just like her. And so even if she didn't commit suicide, or even if she did or didn't or whatever, there are Sandra Blands out there who didn't commit suicide, where their death was framed as something that it was not. Happens all the time, happens every day, happens all across the country consistently. The reason it happens and no one gets penalized for it, or there's rarely a penalty for it, is because it's not in the media. You're not hearing these people's stories. People are assuming that because you're a criminal, you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, or because you've been convicted of a felony, or you've been put in jail, that, oh, you must be a bad person, so you deserve whatever you get. What I encourage people to do is look at the big picture. The big picture will tell you everything you need to know about Sandra Bland's case. Sandra Bland's situation was a microcosm of the horror of the criminal justice system. A reminder of this, especially the state of Texas. It's not a coincidence that Texas is a state that has more black prison inmates than almost any other state in the country. It's also not disconnected from the fact that Texas also had a lot of black slaves. Slavery is directly connected to mass incarceration. They're directly linked to each other. In fact, mass incarceration is modern day slavery. Now, here's the thing. What we have failed to do as a society is we've failed to make the connection between stop and frisk, racial profiling, and Black Lives Matter and police brutality, and connecting that to what happens to these individuals when they do get dropped into the system. I mean, we're talking about what's happening to the people we see, the people we hear, the people we know, the people in our communities. Like, oh, so and so, John Smith down the street got beat by a cop. That's an outrage. Sandra Bland, look at what happened to her when she went to jail. But remember, there are a whole lot of Sandra Blands that drop all the way into the system. There are Sandra Blands who don't get the media coverage because because nothing happens that draws any attention to their case. They end up taking a plea for something they didn't do. Their lives are ruined. They were on their way to work. Next thing you know, they got pulled over for an illegal lane change, and then the next thing you know, the cop is threatening to tase them, and then they're getting arrested for assaulting a police officer. The judge gives them 20 years in prison. They go off to prison. They're getting raped for 20 years straight, being abused, being just treated in the most horrific ways, being beaten by guards, going through all kinds of hell that the public does not talk about because there are no cameras around. You understand? There's no camera around. There is no civil review board. There is no media outrage. There is no conversation about what's happening to you. That's where the real torture lies. What we're seeing in terms of police treatment of people, we are looking at the tip of the iceberg and we're saying, oh my God, look at how big that iceberg is. That iceberg is big and it's cold and it's unbelievable. Well, number one, the iceberg's always been there. Police brutality ain't nothing new. People been getting beat all the time. It's just out of sight, out of mind because you don't see it on camera. You think it's not happening. It's almost like what if imagine if suddenly we made a law that said everybody has to use the bathroom and have sex in public, right? It's a disgusting thought, right? But imagine it. Imagine if every single person you had to watch them have sex, you had to watch them use the bathroom, sitting on the toilet grunting and all that stuff, right? That would be insane to see, right? And if you're not a thoughtful observer, you're gonna say, man, people are using the bathroom so much these days, and they're having so much sex. I mean, back when I was a kid, nobody had sex, or there was very little sex, but now everybody's having sex. Everybody's going to the bathroom. Well, people were always going to the bathroom. They were always having sex. It's just that they were doing it behind a wall. You didn't see what was happening. So police brutality has always been there. These cover-ups have always existed. These conspiracies have always occurred. These false incarcerations have always happened. These rapes in prison have always occurred. The beatings in prisons have always occurred. The abuse, the torture, the mental anguish you see from inmates, the insanity that some of them feel, the fact that some of them come out and they are worse criminals. They are transformed into worse people in some cases. It's because they're dealing with unspeakable amounts of torture. That's why I love the show Orange is the New Black, because that woman did a great job of humanizing prison inmates and letting you know, look, just because somebody's got on an orange jumpsuit does not make them a criminal all the time or just a bad person or unredeemable. You have to know the difference now. Some people might hurt you, but there's a lot of people who are incarcerated who deserve a second chance. I mean, put them in jail for 2 or 3 years, whatever, and force them to rehabilitate themselves, force them to study all day long, force them to learn trades, force them to become better parents, force them to do things that are productive for society. Don't just send them off to prison to be beaten and raped because you don't care enough about them to believe they have any rights. Understand, you might save Sandra Bland's life, but every day when you say nothing about mass incarceration and prison torture, you are killing 10 new Sandra Blands every single day, maybe 100 every day. So let's think about the big picture. Let's not get caught up in what happened with one person. Some people get into it like they get excited, like it's a murder mystery, and they're just all over. They're eating their popcorn, almost like it's some type of entertainment. This ain't no entertainment. This is somebody's life, and this is the life of not just Sandra, but there are thousands of Sandra Blands out here every day going through all kinds of hell. There are male versions of Sandra Blands that are being hit with this mass incarceration epidemic who did the same thing on their way to a job, got pulled over by a Texas cop for switching lanes without hitting a turn signal, ended up getting tased, charged with assaulting a police officer. Nobody cares. The judge, the prosecutors, all of them sign off on the documents, force them to take a plea. Don't even give them a trial. Force them to take a plea. That's another injustice in our system. You're forced to take the plea, or they will torture you. They'll leave you in jail, where you're going to be abused and mistreated. They're going to threaten you with many, many, many years in prison. Even if you're innocent, you're black, you go before an all-white jury. Next thing you know, your black ass is hauled off. You don't exist anymore. Society does not care about you. They will let you go to prison and rot and die and be beaten and go through all kinds of hell because they don't care. If Sandra Bland had lived, here's the thing. Here's the funny, interesting thing. Sandra Bland lives in your mind because Sandra Bland died in jail. If Sandra Bland had lived, and Sandra Bland's story had never been told, and she had been hit with them charges and been sent down the road to whatever prison, you wouldn't have heard about her. You wouldn't have cared about her because you're trained to not care about black people in prison. So do you understand? If Sandra Bland had not died, there's a good chance you wouldn't even care about her. You would just let her. If she committed suicide, let's say after she got convicted, she committed suicide. Let's say she did commit suicide. That's up for debate right now, right? People don't know. But let's say that she was just dead 2 weeks after getting convicted and sent away to prison. I guarantee you, Everybody who's crying for her, everybody who's fighting for her, 99.9% of those people wouldn't say a word because they say, "Oh, well, she got convicted, so she must have been a bad person. So she deserves whatever she got." But just know that there are a lot of Sandra Blands who are in prison right now who don't deserve what they got. They deserve a situation where the punishment fits the crime, and we don't live in that society. So that's the point I wanted to make to you today. Please feel free to leave your comments. Let's just think deeply, and let's not get caught up in just the hype-based conversation. Let's have a conversation that's real. And I don't give a damn. I mean, I don't say I don't give a damn about the tip of the iceberg, but the tip of the iceberg ain't nothing compared to the iceberg itself. If you really want to see what's really going on with these cops, what's really going on with this criminal justice system, dig deep in that iceberg. Look at what's going on in these penitentiaries. You can't talk about the first half of the story without talking about the second half. That's it. That's all I want to tell you. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.